Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. Welcome to the CIFA series on Islamic finance. In today's segment, we continue our discussion of riba. Last time we discussed riba from a very general sense. Today we want to narrow down and look at riba in credit transactions. In our next discussion, we'll consider riba in exchange transactions of the same type of money or different types of money. Modern banking as we know it is a relatively new phenomenon, but the concept of private lending with interest has existed for a very long time. Certainly the ancient Arabians knew it. One of the companions of the Prophet, Osama bin Zayd, reported that the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "There is no riba except in waiting, or nasi'ah." The delay comes from one of two common transactions. The first is that one lends money to another person and tells, "I want my capital back and an increase on my capital." The second is that one offers credit for a sales transaction or a rental transaction, and the customer later complains that he or she cannot pay on time. In exchange for giving more time, the creditor demands an increase. So these are the two forms of riba nasi'ah, or the riba of waiting or delay, or indeed credit. One of the companions of the Prophet, Omar bin Ka'ab, borrowed money from Omar radiallahu anhu. When he returned the money, he brought a gift of dates to Omar. Omar complained that he was afraid that the riba was in the gift of dates, that it was an increase for having given the loan, and was contemplating rejecting it. The borrower returned the money instantly and said, "I have no desire to prevent you from enjoying the taste of the dates which I've always given to you." So we wanted to break up, in this example, the concept of an increase and a loan. These observations show that the ancient Arabians certainly understood interest, or riba as they would have called it. And then one of the important aspects of the concept of interest is that it means that money by itself grows. It has no need to be put to work in a business transaction. But Sharia requires us to take money and put it into a risk-bearing transaction. Either I share risk with you as your business partner, I appoint you my business agent, or I take risk in some form of commercial transaction. My commercial transaction may result in credit risk. I buy goods and sell them to you. I buy equipment and lease it to you. Nonetheless, it's still a different type of risk than pure and simple credit risk when we start the process. In these examples, the time value of money is not riba per se. We are actually allowed to look at the total situation, the credit, the business risk, and the time value of money when we calculate our price the first time. But if we've gotten it wrong, or our customer falls into trouble later on, we're not allowed to adjust the price just because the clock has ticked or the time has gone on. Some people contend that riba is only the doubling and quadrupling of money, and indeed this is a form of riba. Nonetheless, this abuse is not the whole story, and we often forget that the Latin word usury, which might come from doubling or quadrupling a sum over time, is in fact the Latin word for simple interest. Nowhere in the Quran or the Hadith is there any specific evidence that the mere passage of time denies one the right to a profit. It's rather important, how do you get to the profit, whether you engage in investment or other business activities. Therefore, the lending of money, as opposed to the lending of equipment or property, or the sale of goods, is the problem. So let's summarize. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said that there is no riba in a transaction which is conducted hand to hand. Anas ibn Malik reported that the Prophet, peace be upon him, said that if someone amongst you lends someone to another person, the former should not accept from the latter any gift or ride, except that both have been dealing with each other in that way prior to the loan. These hadith have been distilled to encourage us to consider the following points as the definition of riba-free transactions. Either a product or a service other than the delivery of money must be delivered, and in order for a party to profit, it must commit to a commercial or financial risk. In other words, there must be a bona fide transaction, and one must be prepared to accept a loss as well as a profit. Thank you for joining us today in the CIFA series on Islamic finance. We look forward to you joining us in our next episode when we intend to cover Riba al-Fadl.